What's going on, guys? Welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of Action Movie Anatomy. This is not your normal episode of the show. We've done, count them, 100 episodes of Action Movie Anatomy, and today we are going to break down the 10 rules derived from our hundreds and hundreds of hours on camera. Hang out with Andrew and I as we break down the 10 rules of Action Movie Anatomy.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Action Movie Anatomy.
Boom! What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of the show. Welcome to Action Movie Anatomy here on the Popcorn Talk Network. Oh, this is not even the normal version of the song. We got like a remix.
Dude, this is sweet.
Yeah.
I don't even want to do the show anymore.
What are those 808s? And heartbreaks?
Low lows, girl.
That's Kanye. Cut it. Cut the music.
Cut the music. Cut the cut.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Action Movie Anatomy. We're talking about a very special subject today on the show. As I mentioned in the intro, we've done 100 episodes of Action Movie Anatomy. Actually, tomorrow we'll have done 100 episodes.
Yeah, tomorrow will actually be our 100th episode of Heat.
Yeah.
But man, what a journey it's been.
What a year it has been. Yeah, we have 5 days of content here on the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network dedicated to talking movies, pop culture, and all things pop culture. So, guys, we are going to be talking about the 10 rules of Action Movie Anatomy. Andrew and I have talked for a long, long time about all of these things, all these ideas that in the beginning when we started the show, it was like we had some general ideas of the things we liked, but now we've really honed in on what's important, what really matters in the world of movies, what's important in the world, what's going on.
Yeah, it's so crazy because you and I started doing this show as two guys, just friends. Like, hey, I don't want to work at a restaurant anymore. Hey, me neither. Let's do something. What do you like? Movies? Cool. Let's talk about that. And then it became like, oh, we've got a show. Like, it's a real show. We talk about movies. It's kind of intelligent. It's kind of funny.
Right.
But we're not movie critics. And then it's become this thing. After 2 years and 100 episodes, we've become movie critics. We also want to write our own action movie one day. And the reason for that is because we've seen so many great and not so great action movies that we've realized that there's things in every film. There's these rules that transcend across all film. We're going to just cover action because that's what we do.
Yeah.
But there are these real rules that show up and they're backed by what's the word? By evidence over decades.
Cinema science, we call it.
Cinema science, we call it.
Like a Dutch rudder.
Yeah, no.
So, guys, we're going to be talking about the 10 rules of Action Movie Anatomy, and these rules tie directly into something very, very, very exciting that we have upcoming.
Yes.
And as we have been talking about the rules and everything that makes up the movies we love, Andrew and I are going to be launching another show very soon.
It's a new show, and we have to be vague about it. We did sign non-disclosure agreements.
It's going to be a show called Fist Pump Films Weekly.
Yes.
And as you know, guys, as we have talked about films that we love on this show, we have always wanted to cover some of these other movies. And really, honestly, you've seen us dive into other genres that we have, loosely characterized as action just for the sake of covering those movies on this show.
Absolutely.
And this is going to be the show that gets to cover those movies. Fist Pumps Films Weekly is going to be amazing.
Everything from Magnolia to Boogie Nights to Jerry Maguire. I just listed like only Tom Cruise movies.
It's my favorite movies.
It's just like even to The Notebook, to animated films, to Inside Out, to WALL-E. Like these are movies we can cover anything from any time, new, old. It's what we want to do. We love action movies. That was a niche that we found.
The Punisher, anyone?
The Punisher.
We covered it on the show already. We don't get to do it on the other show too.
Look, I'm going to find another rule to do it again. But yeah, so this is basically our way of covering every film out there, and we've come up with rules.
Yeah, so the gist of the new show is going to be tied into what we're doing here. So you'll hear these rules, and these are big, sweeping rules. But there's going to be a leather-bound book. There's going to be all the rules are going to be in the book, and we're going to be able to show you a rule and then have a whole discussion based on that rule as it ties into something happening in the movie world, something more topical, more relevant, more current, and we're going to get to weave through the history of film.
It'll be in calligraphy and pigeon blood.
Yeah. Yeah, like a Dutch rudder.
Yes, like a Dutch rudder. I don't think that means what you think it means.
So, guys, we're going to jump straight into it. We're going to do the 10 rules of Action Movie Anatomy and counting backwards. If you watch this show or you listen to this show, then you know how important these rules are to us, and you will identify with every single one of them.
Absolutely. And if you want to argue these rules, which I dare you to do, it's not going to be smart. Ben and I have literally put hundreds of hours into thinking about these.
Yeah.
And Yeah, so let's jump in with the first one. Let's talk about this.
I like to think I have 10 children, and it's these 10 rules.
It's really sad.
So, guys, rule number 1. Actually, this is rule number 10. We're counting backwards, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Rule number 10. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is the greatest movie trivia.
God damn it. God damn it. We built it up for so long. What are you doing, man?
If you like the show, I think you know what I was getting at.
I do.
The Lord of the Rings trilogy is the greatest movie trilogy of all time. Rule number 10.
And I understand that well, what about Star Wars?
Yeah, that's the big one. That's, that's why this was a hard rule to...
That is the one.
Yeah.
That's the only other one out there. I mean, some people will try to argue the Dark Knight trilogy, but it's not even on the same page.
No, it's not even the
these
same
two.
conversation.
It's the greatest trilogy of all time. If you want to talk money, if you want to talk awards, if you want to talk performance, if you want to talk what it did for actors in their career, who's Viggo Mortensen? Oh, the guy from Crimson Tide? No one says that.
Sweaty Viggo?
Yeah, no one says that. This was when he came on the map. It's perfect.
It's a perfect trilogy. I think I've always said about this, if you go back and watch these movies now, it's going on 20 years pretty soon since these films came out, and the CGI is like the perfect blending of CGI and practical effects for its time. Has not aged. The performances are wonderful. I didn't even realize this until the other day, and I wonder if you know this, actually. I was wrong about this. Did the Lord of the Rings trilogy receive any acting Oscar nominations?
Any acting Oscar nominations? Didn't The Return of the King get one?
No, you're in the same camp I was in.
Yeah.
McKellen got one for Gandalf. For Fellowship.
For Fellowship.
He got nominated for supporting actor, which I always, for some reason, thought that the whole entire cast was passed over 3 movies. But literally, that's the only one. These are the greatest movies, and they got literally a single acting nomination.
Which is so crazy because the acting in these films is so brilliant.
It is.
It's so brilliant. You want to say like, oh, well, the acting isn't what carried it. It's everything else in the storytelling. But the acting in this... What's so great about it is there is no superstar, even though Viggo kind of emerges as that.
Right.
There's no one they don't steal from each other.
Except for Boromir in the first film.
Which we were going to show the clip, but then we're just wasting time.
Yeah.
So I would like to see you guys argue that. I understand all the Star Wars fans out there, but you also got to remember that Star Wars itself, as a trilogy, there's 3 of them, and there's going to be 3 of them.
Yep.
Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit is not part of that. That is its own separate entity, the Hobbit trilogy. If you're going to talk about trilogies, obviously you're going to go 4, 5, 6. But Star Wars, it's got 1, 2, and 3, and it just pulls away from the whole legacy.
I fully believe the Lord of the Rings trilogy is the greatest movie trilogy of all time.
Yeah.
Done and done. Rule number 10.
100%. Rule number 10.
Rule number 9. Oh, this is an exciting one.
This is a good one.
No director has better utilized Denzelishness more masterfully than the late, great Tony Scott. Even Antoine Fuqua.
Director of Training Day.
The director of Training Day.
Denzelishness, we stole that.
It's from the Denzel Washington is the greatest actor of all time period podcast with W. Kamau Bell and Kevin Avery. And they use the phrase Denzelishness lovingly because it's even like the way he walks.
It's the swagger. It's the way he says things. Even the way he looks at things.
There's just an expression on his face. The way he walks and like swings his arms when he walks.
Yeah.
It's just so you're like in Deja Vu, which I watched some of last night, by the way.
Dude, I watched the end of it 2 nights ago and the beginning of it yesterday.
The first hour of Deja Vu, by the way,
phenomenal.
Is kind of brilliant.
It's a good movie.
It's really good. It gets totally off the rails the second half.
Nah.
But like it's a really, really good movie. I mean, for an hour, and then it gets bad.
Him watching her and him talking to all the scientists and like figuring out what's going on. It's so good. And to go back to our rule, Denzel Washington is an icon.
Yep.
There's something about him. He's a badass. He's got swagger. He's the noble savage. But in Tony Scott films, even back to Crimson Tide when they hadn't really figured each other out yet, and Tony Scott hadn't even figured out, no one knew who they were back then. They were all still figuring out themselves. But you go back and you watch that last stretch, all those, Unstoppable, Taking, Man on Fire, and Deja Vu. He's his muse.
Yeah, he is.
He's perfect.
Because what's wonderful about it is that he figured out a way to make a guy. Denzel's like kind of out of shape in most of the roles. He's like not like jacked. He's not like super ripped action star, but he's wearing like a Hawaiian shirt in Deja Vu basically. But he's so badass, like just like walking. Even it's that scene, the Denzelishness we're talking about is when he walks up and he's like, "Who's in charge of this investigation?" And he's like, "The coffee pot's in the back." He's like, "Oh, the coffee pot's in the back." He is in charge.
He is in charge. Yeah. No one else could say that but Denzel. you know. And then there's that moment. My favorite part is he always has these, all right then.
Yeah.
It's like getting everyone on my page. And he does that, but it's never aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, Denzel's just the best, man. He really is, and he's so earnest. And I think that's what's so cool about these movies is the Tony Scott-Denzel relationship is he's just a normal dude.
Yeah.
A flawed human.
He's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. He utilizes Denzelishness better than anyone. He just puts him in these everyman roles.
Yeah, so if you guys can think of another director out there that uses Denzel better than
Tony
Scott.
Scott. His Denzelishness.
His Denzelishness, please come at us, man.
Next up, guys, rule number 8. Oh, this is a good one.
This is a great one. There was some heavy algebra.
We should have just thrown the clip that we have of this of me talking.
Oh,
in the chair.
Yeah, it's so good.
Rule number 8. Of the 623 total minutes of the Mission Impossible franchise, count to 10 is indisputably the best 2 minutes and 13 seconds.
It absolutely is. Now, you have to watch. You have had to have watched the entire franchise.
Yeah.
To appreciate, because obviously you're like, oh, well, what about the Burj Khalifa? What about holding his breath? What about the airplane? Yeah, those are all great. Those are all fine. That moment.
What about kicking the gun and falling backwards as he shoots Hunt?
The swing around on the look. That part of that movie is so real.
Yeah.
It is it's the best acting.
It
in
is.
the whole entire 5 films.
It might be the best piece of Tom Cruise action acting ever. I think it probably is.
And the only reason you say that is because Magnolia, when he's talking to his dad at the end, is better.
He's got some really great roles, like when he goes dramatic.
Yeah.
This is different, but in terms of like actual dramatic scenes that you can put into an action movie, this is probably the best one he's ever done.
And it's so real and like, it's heartbreaking.
It is.
It really is. It's really hard to watch. And also, at that point, it sets up who Philip Seymour Hoffman is as a villain.
Yeah.
Look, he's out of shape. He's a little older. He's smart. He's not a physical threat. But that does such a great job for setting up the next 2 hours of that film.
Yeah, Davian's a great villain. We were really high on Davian for a long time. We ranked him really high on our list.
And he still is. He still is one of my absolute favorite villains.
He's great. PSH. I mean, that guy could do anything.
What are the other moments that combat this? Because people are going to talk about, like I said, the Burj Khalifa, the plane taking off, the underwater scene.
Oh, I think probably it definitely from the first film, hanging from the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably
the like backwards kicking up, flip off the pole.
Yeah, I think probably that scene from the first one with him and Jean Reno where he's hanging and they're doing the like whatever, they're stealing the file.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the second most famous scene from the Mission Impossible franchise. But definitely there's some stuff from the 4th and the 5th film. For me, it's not even close, though. It's just 100% this scene.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I love so much about it is that number 3 is also a lot more dumbed down than the rest of all the Mission Impossibles technologically and cool gadget-wise. So, guys, of the 623 total minutes of the Mission Impossible franchise, count to 10 is indisputably the best 2 minutes and 13 seconds. Rule number 8.
Rule number 7. Just add Cox. All movies are made better with Brian Cox.
Like a Dutch rudder.
Yeah, like it. I don't think.
Yes, this is a real thing. This is a real rule. Go and look at Brian Cox's IMDb.
Yeah. If you guys watch our show, then you understand how much we love Brian Cox. The man shows up in like it's a stretch of films from like 96 to like 04.
Yeah, he's in Braveheart. He's in Bourne. He's in
Troy.
He's in Troy.
Yeah,
him and Troy.
Yeah. He's in Long Kiss Goodnight. He's in The Ring. He's in X-Men 2.
Yeah.
He's in Adaptation. All of these
so good in X-Men.
Yeah, he's great. William Stryker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in all these great movies from around that time, and he's just the best. He's just like such a great character actor.
He's so good. He's another one of these guys. What I think really makes a character actor fantastic is doing your job and not taking away from the story, but everyone's like, I want to watch that guy's movie. I want to know what that guy did before he got to set today. You know, like that character.
Right.
And Brian Cox, just humble man. He has no ego.
Yeah.
He is totally willing to go into any role and just play his part.
Yeah.
He's fantastic.
100%.
And the reason we called it Just Add Cox... Come on.
I mean,
that's just too good.
It's a great name. It's a great name. We also it's going to reference something else that is going to tie directly into Fist Bump Films Weekly.
Yes.
Which is RAR. And guys, we're going to start to get into this a little later in the week because you're going to be watching this. You're going to see us rank our 100 films. We took every single one of the 100 films covered on Action Movie Anatomy.
Yes.
We ranked them all in reverse order, and we threw in awards. We have a whole awards season that we're doing. and we are going to be doing an award called the King of the RAR. RAR stands for Rating Above Replacement, which is the value brought to a film by a supporting actor. Somebody lower on the billing, and how much value do they bring to a movie, being the 6th or the 7th or the 8th lead.
Yeah, it's a direct correlation of how low you are billed and how high your impact on the movie is.
Yep.
And Brian Cox, Bill Paxton, Brendan Gleeson, these are some of the people out there.
Kevin
Chris
Dunn.
Cooper, Kevin Dunn. People out there that you're like, oh, I know that guy. That guy, right?
Kevin Dunn, by the way, just because the clip came on last night, I don't even know why, plays Hidalgo in Almost Heroes.
Yes.
With the long hair.
So good.
Are you looking at my hair? He's so good.
Yes.
And Eugene Levy plays like the crazy pirate guy.
I don't even know his name in there.
That movie's
We
great.
talk about that movie way too much.
Almost Heroes is a good film. It's a quality film. All right, rule number 6, guys. From the director of Training Day. In case you forgot, Antoine Fuqua directed Training Day.
Now, I know that doesn't really sound like a rule, but it is.
It's a rule because, guys, look, you look at the cover to the movie Shooter, the cover of the box. It says from the director of Training Day.
You look at the new trailer coming out for Magnificent Seven. It says from the director of Training Day.
You look at the cover for Tears of the Sun. It's from the director of Training Day.
If you go to the CVS store or Walgreens and there's a prescription, it says for the director of Training Day.
He doesn't even say his name. It's just
When he's having sex with his wife, she screams out, the director of Training Day.
Antoine Fuqua made the great. It's like not even. No other director that has a notable film has gotten so much mileage out of their film ever.
No,
than
they
Antoine
get to a
Fuqua.
point where they're like, you know what? I gotta move on. I gotta move on to the next one that I directed.
If it was like from the director of Taxi Driver, it's like you directed that movie in 1974.
But I directed it, and it was good.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, anyway, so Fuqua, the rule itself, I know it doesn't sound like a rule, but the rule itself is that no director has lived off of or skated on the coattails of one film for so long.
And the reason it's funny to us is because, A, we talk so much shit about Antoine Fuqua on the show, but we love Antoine Fuqua.
That's the thing, is he's not a bad director. He's just not a great director.
We've kind of realized that Antoine Fuqua is like one of our favorites. And
Yeah.
there's even a great Antoine Fuqua movie we haven't done yet on the show in The Equalizer that we'll eventually still
and
go
I
and
like
do.
The Equalizer.
Yeah, big fan of The Equalizer. It's just something about, like, it's also because the quality of Training Day is so low relative to the amount of credit that movie gets.
Yeah.
That he's living on the success of that film, and that's not even that good of a movie.
No.
It's just like a kind of good movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you've directed other good stuff, man. If you say from the director of Magnificent Seven or from the director of Shooter, I know what I'm getting into. I know what
Yes.
I'm signing up for.
Exactly.
When you say for the director of Training Day, I'm like, okay, cool. Best actor, maybe best picture, phenomenal. No.
Rule number 4. No, rule number 5.
Yes.
Sorry. Jumping the gun here. The greatest speech in movie history comes from Bill Pullman in Independence Day.
Now, I know you'll say there's a lot of good speeches out there and a lot of good movies.
The greatest speech in American history comes from Bill Pullman in Independence Day.
Look, argue it if you want. You're going to lose.
The second part's not real. The second part's
That's not real. Look, if you talk to anyone from the ages of 18 to like 40,
Yep.
they will all say one thing about Independence Day. You guys have seen Independence Day? Oh my God, man, that movie has one of the best speeches of all time.
Yeah.
Everyone says that.
It's the greatest movie speech ever. It's a better speech than an actual president of the United States has probably ever had.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not going to make that a rule because like that wouldn't be easier to prove wrong.
Obama had some good ones.
Yeah. But this one's pretty damn memorable. It's the perfect length.
Look, it's better than the Braveheart freedom speech. Okay? It just is.
Yeah.
Like, after this speech, Randy Quaid goes and drives his ship into a spaceship and sacrifices himself.
Yeah, if Randy Quaid sacrifices himself for you, you've done a pretty good job.
No, it's just something about the build, and it's just so earnest, and the conviction, and it just, the way it builds, it doesn't matter what he's saying. It just has the right pacing and the music.
Yep.
It is the greatest thing that Roland Emmerich's ever done in his career as well.
It is, yeah. What's the end of it? We will not go down without a fight.
We will not go gently into the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a sweet speech.
So good.
It's a great speech.
It's too bad that they tried to replicate it in Resurgence.
And his voice had gotten all
It's
weird
like
and squirrely.
crackly and
It's a bad movie, that film.
It's a really bad movie.
We did it on the show.
Yes, we did.
It's a thing that happened.
Well, there's a couple things that we've done on the show we're not proud of.
Like a Dutch rudder.
We didn't do that. All right,
Guys,
rule-
don't look up what a Dutch rudder
Don't
is.
look that
if you
up.
don't know what it is, don't look it up.
Just go back and bleep it all out, Steven. Rule number 4, Bill Paxton is the greatest big-budget character actor of all time.
Yes, so we did a whole episode called Paxton Movie Anatomy when Bill Paxton passed just a month or two ago.
Rest in peace, my brother.
Yes, he's one of the greatest ever. We're enormous fans of Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
And when you look at his actual filmography, what you realize is that there is nobody that's even in the same conversation as Bill Paxton. Box office receipts were close to $5 billion.
Yeah.
You look at the list, it's like Titanic and Apollo 13, Tombstone, Aliens, Weird Science, Frailty, Predator 2,
Terminator. He's in everything. True
Everything.
Lies. He's in Twister.
True Lies, Twister, yeah.
Like, this guy, he's fantastic. And he lived off of being a secondary character. He got his chance to shine a couple times. And look, Bill, we love you, but there was just something missing. And I think it's that movie star charisma that we talk about. But the thing is that he has the movie star charisma when he's playing the secondary role.
Completely. Look, Bill Paxton has some of the greatest looks ever without saying anything.
Take her to London,
Yeah.
Paris.
He's maybe he's quite possibly the most likable shitweasel of all time in the rules that they put him to be a shitweasel.
You don't hate him.
Yeah, he's a lovable shitweasel.
Yeah, True Lies. He's the best part of True Lies.
He is through and through. He's better than Schwarzenegger.
Absolutely.
How many times can you say that somebody
Never.
in a film is better than Schwarzenegger or they're in a movie with Schwarzenegger?
Can you?
Is that the only one ever? No, probably not. He's been in some really bad movies.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some bad Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah. Sinbad's great in Jingle All the Way.
So how about this? How about when Schwarzenegger's at his best, like Bill Paxton's the only person that stole from him. You know what I mean? Like, he took the light from Schwarzenegger at his best, not Junior, not Kindergarten Cop, but actually in one of his great films.
In a classic Schwarzenegger film.
Yeah. Who else can do that?
I mean, Paxton is one of the great actors of all time. Look, over $4 billion, and he starred in, of the movies we named, one of them.
Right.
He starred in one of those films. The rest of them, he was at least third or fourth billed.
And I know this is a horrible thing to say, but you could tell by the impact that he had on the audience, on America, as movie watchers, because a lot of people kind of forget these guys when they die. And I know that's a horrible thing to say, but when character actors pass, a lot of people forget, oh, I remember him.
Right.
I loved him. Oh, God, what was that movie?
Yeah.
And then you forget about it the next day. People say things about Bill Paxton dying.
People were devastated.
Devastated.
Yeah. He's one of the most likable, and what was his band that we found the sweet video that Cameron directed?
Just go look up Bill Paxton.
I can't remember what it was.
Band. All right,
Rule number 3. No actor has had a greater run of 3 action movies in a shorter window than Nicolas Cage circa June 96 to June 97.
This is a 13-month run.
Guys, in 13 months, Nicolas Cage, following up the release and win of Best Actor for Leaving Las Vegas, his next 3 films were released in a 13-month period, and those 3 films were The Rock, Con Air, and Face Off. He did all 3 of them in 13 months.
13 months. Not only was his bank account exploding at the time, but what other actor out there has had that good of an action? Good.
Yeah.
Not just been in action movies. Okay, Wesley Snipes had a great run there where he was in 30 movies in 2 months. But these are excellent. These are classics.
Cameron Poe, Castor Troy, and / Sean Archer, but Castor Troy, really.
I'm Castor Troy.
And Stanley Goodspeed. 3 iconic action characters in 13 months. And really, you can strip out the rest of Nicolas Cage's career if you want, because that's a more impressive feat in his genre to do those 3 movies in 13 months than you can find for most actors in any genre ever.
No, I mean, he's in 3 of the best classic action movies ever. And he does them in 1 year. And, I mean, his characters are different. They actually are a little different. You know, I mean, it's not like acting awards.
Do you have a favorite character of Cameron Poe, Stanley Goodspeed,
or
Castor Troy? They're all very likable characters.
I actually think after doing the show, I've got to go Stanley Goodspeed.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it used to be Cameron Poe growing up for sure. Hummingbird. But
the hummingbird.
But I mean, The Rock is so good, and Stanley Goodspeed, I feel like, is a more full character.
It's a real character.
Yeah.
It's Castor Troy for me.
I'm Castor Troy.
And it's all to do with the look on the face when he's grabbing the choir girl's ass at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's so good. Cage.
We talk about this a lot, and I think one of the reasons why those movies are so successful was Nicolas Cage literally got to just go be on camera, and they're just like, do what you want, we'll film it. And he could be as crazy or as over the top as he wanted, and it would be perfect. Him and Jim Carrey have an unbelievable gift in going over the top without it being too much.
I think one of the most interesting books ever that any actor could ever write would be Cage talking about the period of his life filming these movies, because he had to film them all in pretty short sequence.
I'm sure he had almost no time off.
they're probably back to back to back. Just like these 3 big time action movies, huge directors, giant budgets, massive stunts. And I wonder what that period of his life was like. It's like a year of solid filming on these 3 movies.
So awesome.
And
he
also,
was so tired.
Because he was basically like prior to that, he was like a high-level B-lister. He had been in some like pretty big stuff.
Yeah, he'd kind of started to fall off a little bit again.
Yeah, like he had...
Not again, but you know what I mean.
You know, his most notable credits to that point were mostly supporting roles and kind of indie movies like Raising Arizona and Moonstruck, movies like Peggy Sue Got Married, Red Rock West.
You know what? Maybe it was that moment of, am I going to be forgotten? What do I do?
Right.
How do I make an impact?
Yeah.
Action. It's the 90s. And then he does this run, and then it's like, oh, shit, I won an Academy Award for Best Actor. I didn't need to do that.
I also wonder, too, with those films, like, he wins for Las Vegas. And so then I wonder when he films them relative to filming that movie and when that movie came out, when he gets the award. Like, I wonder how important him winning that award was to people seeing those films.
Right. Or if he'd already signed the contract or if he got him afterwards.
Yeah.
But anyway, no actor has had a greater run of 3 action movies in a shorter window than Nick Cage, circa June 96 to June 97.
It's remarkable.
Rule number 2, James Cameron is the most timeless director of all time.
And we had a whole conversation about this recently on the show.
Yeah. What episode was that?
That was probably...
The most recent James Cameron movie.
True Lies, maybe?
Might have been.
I don't think...
No, it was on Saving Private Ryan, I think.
No, it wasn't. That was Spielberg. It was Terminator.
Oh, it was Terminator. Yeah. Look, guys, go back and watch The Opening of Aliens. Go back and watch Terminator 2. Go back and watch The Abyss. Go back and watch anything this guy has done. If the only other person you compare him with time-wise, I think, is Spielberg, because they came out around the same time and their movies have aged in the same way, but Cameron's haven't. His movies don't age. You go back and you watch T2, you go back and you watch Aliens, and those movies could have came out now, and you'd be like, oh, okay, the CGI is a little weak when they go back in time. Or the beginning of Aliens is a little weird. You can tell it's kind of detached. Maybe it is from a different time. Yeah. But it's not distracting. It doesn't take you out of it.
30 years old.
It's 30 years old, and I would be just as happy watching that in a theater now.
Yeah, he's made some of the greatest films of all time, some of the most memorable films of all time, and his movies are ultimately rewatchable generationally. They don't lose anything because he's a great storyteller, and he's famous for making that technology famous when he comes out with it in the first place.
Yeah, like if you're doing something innovative, not every time you make a movie, but damn near every time you make a movie, you know, you've got the facehugger crawling backwards because you're going to shoot it in reverse. You've got the new practical 3D camera that's the first movie being shot in 3D. Like, Avatar, as much as I don't really like that movie, is going to live on for decades. People are going to talk about what that did.
It's the highest grossing film ever made.
And that was the first time we saw real 3D.
Yeah.
You know? So, this isn't saying he's the greatest by any means, but he is the most timeless.
And, guys, we have one rule left.
That's right. Rule number 1, the original rule, the rule that founded this show.
I wouldn't even say that it founded the show. I think we grew into this rule. And I think
I 100% did, and I actually argued this point with someone yesterday.
I think, guys, if you watch or listen to the show and you don't know what the first rule is, you're probably not paying attention.
Or it's the first time you watched the show.
Welcome. Rule number 1, Tom Cruise is the greatest action star of all time.
Boom.
Done.
It is not disputable. It is indisputable. Look, the guy hangs off planes. He holds his breath for 6 minutes. He climbs on the side of the Burj Khalifa. He's the best stunt driver in Hollywood. Simon Pegg asked the stunt coordinator, who's going to be driving? Well, Tom's going to be driving. He's the best driver we have.
Yeah. Tom Cruise is the driver. Tom Cruise is on a motorcycle in every film.
Tom Cruise can hold his breath for longer than Ethan Hunt. In the film, Ethan Hunt has to hold his breath for 3 minutes, and he lists another 4, maybe. So he does a total of 4 minutes, and then he dies. Tom Cruise can hold his breath for 6 minutes.
Yeah. Tom Cruise wouldn't have died in this situation. Ethan Hunt would have.
Exactly. Tom Cruise wouldn't have needed to be saved. Ethan Hunt did.
Tom Cruise is a greater action hero than Harrison Ford.
He is.
Tom Cruise is greater than Denzel Washington as an action star. Tom Cruise is a greater action star than any of these guys.
Willis, De Niro, Pacino, Cage, Gibson.
Yep.
Everyone. He is the greatest. And guys, if you would have said this to me 2 years ago, I would have been like, okay, I'm not even going to talk to you. I will not even humor this discussion. You are a moron.
Yeah.
But that's because I was a moron.
I was stupid.
I was dumb.
And now I've joined Scientology.
I've seen the lights. Guys, if you want to join Scientology, you can... Look, it just is what it is. Tom Cruise is the greatest action star of all time. No one runs more than him in film.
Yeah.
Find someone out there that is as dedicated as that man. Look, if he's inspiring Jeremy Renner, Simon Pegg, and Rebecca Ferguson on a multi-million-dollar movie to do their own stunts...
Yeah.
Because he, at 54 years old, is doing all of his own stunts.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's nothing to argue.
In Mission Impossible 5, he vaults up a pole backwards. Like, what the... That's
in Mission Impossible 5, he's almost 30 years older than Ben and I, in better shape than both of us.
Significantly. Like, he's able to do crazy stunts watching that movie that you're just like, you're in your mid-50s. How are you moving like that?
I tried to hold my breath during that scene last night, and I passed out and peed myself.
Anyway, guys, that's it. That's rule number 1. Tom Cruise is the greatest action star of all time. Those are the 10 rules of action movie anatomy. They dovetail nicely into our brand new show, Fist Pump Films Weekly, which you will see. Where it's going to live is a little more in question, guys. We do know we can't talk about it.
Yep.
It's off the table for now, but we will be announcing that soon. So be sure to keep up to date on all of the information here. Follow along with us on Twitter. You can find me at Ben Bateman Media.
You can find me at Andrew Ghai, and you can find the podcast at AMA Podcast. And guys, if you have any problems with our rules, there it is. If you want to dispute any of our rules, if you think we missed a rule, if you think that you have a better rule for us, tweet at us at AMA Podcast, hashtag AMA Rules.
AMA Rules, hashtag AMA100 is this week's hashtag. And guys, like, comment, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments below. It helps us stay high in the standings.
That's right.
It's very helpful, guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow with Heat, the 100th episode of the show.
Happy 100. Bye.
Bye, guys.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.